It's abstract. I ain't trying to make it no other way. You're going to have to figure it out. Stay with me. Universe blessed. So, something happened recently, a couple of things. It all stacked up. First, I saw that Deadpool Wolverine. I did a review on it. Go check it out if you missed it. You need to know what you need to watch that and see what my perspective was on the film. I'm not a fan of Deadpool, never really was. I expressed why. And it's more than, and it has nothing to do with Ryan Reynolds, the actor. It's about the character. The character is an asshole. The character is obnoxious. He says it himself. Other characters say it about him. Wolverine carved him up, spit him back out, and beat his ass again and again and again. There's the only part of it I enjoyed when he was talking his shit. I was like, thank goodness for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine setting some kind of balance up in this hot mess of a movie at times. Now, I said, and I'm not going to go back on it. I more or less enjoyed the movie, but it was not because of Deadpool. It was because of Wolverine, it was because of Blade. Add in a little bit of that ridiculous accent that my man was doing as Gambit, and oh my gosh, we got comedy relief. Elektra and others were sex appeal, so thank you, ladies looking good. At any age, love it, always love it. As an actor myself, I love to see folk maintain it. But when you get down to the bottom damn line, right? Was it really about all those other folks, or whose movie is it? At the end of the day, it's a Deadpool movie. And I've realized in the last few years, this ain't nothing new, but I think with this, I really realized, man, Deadpool is a cult of personality. Like, he really is like that guy for a lot of younger generation. And when I say younger generation, I'm speaking especially of, you could probably start about 12 to about 35. If I'm not, I mean, and then of course there's older people who love the character too. But especially in that range right there, oh my gosh, it's like I've never seen so many people so elated by such levels of assholish behavior. And quite frankly, he's like the king of trolls, which I completely despise. Can't stand that troll mess. Like, who made, who is an easy answer. I was gonna say, who made this possible? Technology made it possible. Everything we've been on since before I was born, but especially after I was born in the 70s, you just got folks who got to a point with technology, like I like to use the phrase, I didn't make it up, but I love the phrase, it makes sense. Keyboard gangsters, We went through the 90s, the crack era, all that serious stuff in black communities. It wasn't a joke for us. For the rest of the world, it's like becoming a thing where the music, that part of hip-hop history, just the music, hip-hop is not just music, all right? And other things, it's become joking. I wonder if, I'm not sure, I hope he is. I think Ryan Reynolds' heart is in the right place after what he did for Wesley with Blade. Maybe he's paying, or making sure Marvel is paying DMX's estate for using X gon' give it to you, he gon' give it to you. Because like at this point, you got some kids who gonna really think that's Deadpool's song. That fool did not make that song. Now, some folk might laugh. Of course we know that, you know that. Ask 10 more people. One of them gonna say, it's Deadpool's song. You stupid little, no, hell no. That's DMX. Know who it was, know what he came from, and all the pain that he represented, and the kind of energy he was about, and why he was that over the top and extreme. Deadpool is pretending to be badass. This dude and other people who he marks his merc side with, they the real deal. It's like a real life Wolverine type energy versus other people who ain't got nothing to do with that and just want to play with the elements. And that's how you get keyboard gangsters. That's how you get trolls. That's how you get people who think, well, Deadpool does it, and everybody can get away with it, and I can sound like this, and I can talk like this, and I can act like that. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want about anybody and anything at any time, and it shouldn't have any consequences. And then when it does in real life, everybody's crying and saying, why do you? So people tend to not really understand a lot of things as time is going on. And in this age of AI, I have no problem with AI when it's used properly as a tool, but when people use it as a means of diabolical rehistory, making over history, making over imagery, and changing, putting lyrics over stuff, using people's voices they never even said or did. That can get really strange and very inappropriate. And at a certain point, you're going to have a bunch of folk in this Deadpool mentality. Oh, who gives a damn? It's fun. Let's all be half who we are. Any pronoun, we'll make up new pronouns for other pronouns. And it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. And before anybody thinks, oh, wow, he's with us, he's anti-woke. But sit down. I'm real woke, true woke. True woke ain't got a damn thing to do with none of this mess that was created in the last 10 years, maybe 5, I don't know. Y'all need to just shut up and stop saying the word. It's disgusting. You don't know nothing. You ain't rep nothing. Not a damn thing for the black community, where it came from. Not a thing. Shut up. Just shut up. It's pathetic, and it's out of control, and it happens all the time. All the time, over and over and over again. With people who ain't ready for real time. They just want to play with elements. Once something has gone into popular culture, it loses its original meaning. Once it gets recontextualized, it becomes game for trolls and all these half-nitwitted, proudly ignorant people who do not finish anything, who do not have any real accolades in life, to feel like, well, hell, we're all dumbasses together, so let's all be a bunch of Deadpools. Nah, man. I ain't with that. I ain't with that, and I ain't with that. It's becoming a trend to be a failure. It's becoming a trend to be a slacker. Slacker was a phrase when I was growing up that was associated literally with being lazy, slew-footed, just not wanting to be accomplished and try to do anything to a maximum level of excellence. Just, oh, hell with all that excellence. Just be average and it'll be okay. Can't you just hear Ryan Reynolds' voice doing it? Man, it's not cool, y'all. It's not cool. I'm telling you, mark my words. This thing is going to get to a point where Marvel, to protect their public relations and general image in society, some things are going to, I'm telling you, I bet you something's going to happen. Because somebody's going to be acting like the character and blame it on, well, I got that from watching Deadpool and acting like Deadpool or reading Deadpool or whatever, right? And it'll be, once it becomes a trend, or to be an asshole, to be trolling, to be all this condescending, obnoxious energy that's surrounding us at this point in history. Something happened, and then Marvel's gonna have a public statement, and they're gonna probably give him a big check. You're Ryan, we need you to come get in the suit, man, put on the makeup, and say, kids, seriously, I'm not joking. You can't do that. Even I can't do that. Look, I'm on a movie set. You know how he does in the middle of the movie where he makes fun of the fact that this is only a movie, even though it's supposed to be the real story? He's gonna have to do something like that, I bet you. I bet you. It's happened before in the history of humanity. When something had that much cult of personality, where it's like, look, I mean, prime example, WWF, before it was WWE. Because I think it was that old when they started doing those kind of commercials, but they would say, don't try this at home. And then it became a standard, and they still put it on some of their products. Because they literally had kids diving off roofs and stuff, doing backyard wrestling matches and federations, which ain't going nowhere. They still do it. But it made the standard of that raise up, where now you have some backyard federations that they probably wouldn't even want to be called backyard federations anymore. They'd just be like, we're small, independent, because we have our actual business license, we have to have insurance, we have this, we have that. Because they understand, hey man, you can go to jail for holding one of these things if somebody jumps off something, snaps their neck when their friend who was trying to quickly bust them in the head with a damn box of nails, and and it didn't work right, and oh Lord, he's crippled for life, and this stuff is real. Like, this really happened to a lot of young folk. They got hurt up in the worst way, trying to be something that they thought was just wild, crazy, and I just want some credit for being the craziest, wildest dude in my neighborhood that's got a name in wrestling. And some of these folks, maybe know, hey, I ain't got the discipline to make it to WWE. I'm not even gonna try, but I can be a legend in this backyard circuit. Then you got the other versions of stuff where it's just straight up street fighting stuff, and fight clubs and all that stuff. But all of that, people started having to put out warnings like, look, We made a movie, y'all. They were stunt people. No one actually bled, and if they did, it was because there was a slip of a finger or something fell, something. I mean, I've been on set with movies, seen people get hurt for simple stunts. I'm talking about stuff that should not put somebody out. I saw a dude slip just by not hearing a proper call for action, ran out and hit his head on some concrete. He ended up with a concussion, had to be rushed to the hospital. But there was no fight in the scene. It was not a Marvel movie. It was not an action spectacle of any sort, you know? And so there's levels. There's levels to all of this. And a lot of times, you know, I think this young culture energy is not being protected anymore. No one's stopping young folk and telling them, hey, young buck, young lady, young man, chill. Don't you ain't gotta come in and be all, you know. And it's sad because you feel like you can't say nothing to nobody. Everybody packing a gun. There's more guns in America than there are people. So everybody want to be so tough and so bad, but then when something goes awry, because you trying to be a merc with a mouth, you cross a real merc. There's some real mercs walking around. There's real people who did real military service, got real military training, and maybe not even the military, just went through a lot of crazy-ish and know how to handle themselves in martial arts, ballistic weapons, blunt weapons, melee weapons, you name whatever you want. Hey, how you want your pain? They got you. It's easy. That phrase is stuck in my vocabulary from somebody I know who lived that life. Because that's just what he would constantly say when we would talk about stuff like that and what he had been through. It's easy. I said, man, that used to just hit me like, he could say a lot of other words, but he said, it's easy. Translation, taking you out, if you're a threat to me, it's easy. So we got to do away with a lot of this kind of energy. And I'm seeing it building, and then it could be no worse to be an election year with all of the differences of opinion on that. And, oh boy, it's messy, y'all. It's messy out here. And I don't like it. I don't like it. So I thought I would speak on it, share some perspective, and wonder if anybody else feels that energy. There's like I say, it's like there's it's a fictional character, but it's like a representation of some real energy that is not being regulated, and it's being taken for granted that everybody sees it as just entertainment and not a way to actually be. But the only reason the character even exists, quite frankly, is it's based on real energy that was already here. This ain't nothing new to human experience. But when it becomes a trend, I always say, okay, here's the found formula again, created by yours truly. The formula for culture is this: actions. And we all know every action has an opposite or equal reaction. Just add that in for good thought. Then makes decisions. Then you got, from the choices, the decisions become habits. This is the danger, because once a habit is established with just one person, if other people observe that, they like what the decision was. I want to make the same decision. They do the same thing. They get the same result. They develop the same habit. The habit becomes a tradition, because now you got a group of people all believing in the same habit. And I do that too, man. I love doing that. Me too, yeah. It's our tradition to do it. You know it, baby. We do this. This is what we do. This is what we do. At that point, the real question is your energy, whatever your choices were, whatever the results of your tradition are, is it functional or dysfunctional for your community, for the society at large, for the world? And if the answer seems kind of dysfunctional, you're in trouble. Because the tradition becomes a culture. And that's where we at. And that is why I do not like the phrase and the way it is used in modern hip hop cultures when people say for the culture. I always add a Z. That's my stylization of it with the phonetics, the sounds, hip hop style of writing. One of many. one of many for the cultures, or with an S, it don't matter, but I created the hashtag. I'm gonna keep saying it, and I ain't trying to get points. I don't care if I do want it to get popular, only because I want people to create a new tradition based on truth, honesty, respect, ethics, basic loyalty, basic decency, objection to obnoxious behavior, understanding this is not becoming of anyone in the history of humanity. Wherever that was present, it always led to chaos. The Deadpooling of a society leads to the first word in the name. What's his name? Stop before you get to the pool. I'm trying to tell you, it's not healthy. It's just not. Now somebody said, man, you're taking this way too serious. It's just entertainment. I am an entertainer. I'm in the entertainment business. You just a customer, homie. You got to understand the depths of who's on the stage. And if you don't like what I got to say, leave the concert. Because I'm speaking nothing but reality based on actual evidence. Actual evidence, being on set, seeing the process. I've seen people on movie sets be obnoxious jackasses, ego freaking maniacs with some of these directors and whatnot. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm not even talking about specifically about this movie at all. I'm just saying in other experiences, I can see how characters like a Deadpool in the comics, into the movies, get created. I know it started with the comics, but it's the same mentality. Writing is writing. I'm a writer. You can create a monster on a page just by creating a character that's popular enough to influence popular culture and set up a tradition, therefore a culture at a later point in time. It's an absolute fact. It's an absolute fact. I never forget a friend of mine told me, his dad told us about, you know what, I'm gonna give an homage. Hey, just a shout out to my homie, my great friend Diallo Riddle, late great absolute legend. His dad, legendary visual artist. Shout out Mr. Riddle forever and a day. Yes, sir. He's like an uncle to me, you know. But we were watching Superfly for the first time, and you know, that wasn't our era. That was our parents' era. And I'm talking about the original Superfly, by the way, because I know they have the new version. Which, by the way, I was on the set of that movie. I was on that movie. I was part of the folks in the funeral scene for the character that passed, if you've seen it. But anyway, the original 1970s Superfly. And there was a moment where, you know, he came around while we were watching it. He said, oh man, I remember this movie. And he started telling us stories about how popular it was when it came out. And he broke down the fact that it was introduced right at the precipice of the end of, not really the end, I mean, but the closing of the peak of the civil rights movement coming out of the 60s into the 70s, the end of the Vietnam War, folk coming home with drug habits because of that and the stress of that, PTSD, you name it. Because of that, the influx of heroin into the black communities in every major metropolis, every city. They were pushing heroin on the folk and trying to just go to sleep, forget all your woes, stay high, die on this new drug that hit the street, right? It wasn't the first time heroin hit the street, but it hit like a monster in the 70s. And so Superfly and that whole pimp culture, the whole heroin drug culture, all of that got introduced around that time. And this was the poster boy for it. I mean, like literally, this was the poster boy for that culture. And so he said it was so popular in image of, this dude who had all the ladies and the money from what he was doing with his different street hustles and whatnot. And yeah, there was another message in the movie of him trying to get out the game. That was the real message of Superfly. Like, I want to leave all this behind. I don't want to be caught up with the cops and at war with other gangsters and all this stuff. I just want to get out the life. But irregardless, it had so much fly imagery and Superfly energy that Ron O'Neal, rest his soul, legendary actor that didn't get enough of credit for what, or even opportunities to be in more movies than what he was known for. Because he was much more than just the character Superfly, but that's what he got known for. And he had the permed out, pressed hair, which, by the way, all of that was even influential on my life. Because by the time 70s influenced movies started, really, always had influence, but when they made it a thing in hip hop, you could say starting late 80s, especially through the 90s, early 90s, it was a lot of retro 70s energy, which always happens in fashion and trends. They always want to whatever your parents' era was, okay, we're going to get more money off of them because we're going to bring back stuff they were doing back then. And we're going to make the kids understand it enough and appreciate it enough to get a whole new market for the stuff that we were doing back then. They're doing it again now. Kids are doing the more baggy look now. They're trying to do their 90s thing like their parents. Folk my age, you feel me? So anyway, but the permed hair in particular, right? A lot of folk, still had afros and everything, and they wasn't about to go through the chemical process. Some people did. They went on and did all that and wanted that look. And like I say, I lived this in my own reinvention of this era. I did a kitty perm when I was in college. And that was my look for about 3 of my college years. And just out of college, it was my look for, and I didn't wear it in that way. I used to wear braids. I was obsessed with having my stuff not straight, but just pressed enough to stay in braids and I wanted my braids to stay crisp longer and not get fuzzy as they grow out. If you're black and you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you got black friends and you really understand the textures of black hair, textures, there's no one, you understand what the hell I'm talking about. If you don't, you don't. So anyway, but he said it was so crazy that the street vendors back then used to sell hats that looked like the pimp hats with fake hair sewn into the back. So if a dude was wearing it, he looked like he had the hair too. I said, oh, you got a freaking kid. And I thought about that. At the time, I didn't think this about it, but now that I'm older and I'm adding more to the story that was always amazing, it was like cosplaying. It was like for anybody who bought those hats and wore them, it was like cosplaying the character Superfly. But the character at the end of the day was a drug dealer. He really wasn't even a pimp. People associate Superfly more with even the phrase Superfly that came out of the movie. People started using that more so in the black community to just, man, you a super fly motherfucker, man. You real super fly, bro. You real clean and cool and pimping. It was always, it would go with just how cool you are, but it also added to being more like a pimpish energy. When, yeah, he had a lot of women, because he in this game with the drug game, but he was really he's a damn drug dealer, And he's a coke addicted drug dealer. He sniffed coke too, so he had an addiction. He had all these issues and problems. I mean, a lot of mess, And in many ways, it could be a very realistic representation of some people's lives for that time and even now. But for anybody who didn't live that life back then, or may have been adjacent to it, but again, you ain't him, you ain't no dealer. Maybe they were the addict at best, or maybe not at all. But just obsessed with the energy of what that represented, they cosplayed it, Now, this is a long way from Deadpool. Because Deadpool almost he's such a clown type energy that no one takes it too serious, so that makes it a little easier when everybody wants to cosplay. And let me say something. I'm not saying don't cosplay the character. I'm not saying it's ridiculous to cosplay Deadpool or want to be like Deadpool. I got close friends that are going to have a fit just to hear me say all this. Like, man, I love Deadpool. What the hell, bro? It ain't that. I'm not even worried about them. The ones I'm talking about, man, I got a close doctor friend. He ain't going to suddenly be letting people die on the operating table just because he wanted to make a quick, snarky joke like Deadpool. He's a responsible professional, and he's going to always be a legend in the medical field. So I'm not worried about sane, logical people and what they enjoy for humor or whatever they get out of it. I even laughed at some of the damn jokes Deadpool made in the movie. Uncomfortably so, but it was still funny. It's not even the characters are complete. It's the energy of all of this, I don't care, no matter what. Like Wolverine told him at one point, shanking him up, everything's joke with you. Like, that's the part. Everything can't be a joke. We're at a time in history that's very serious in many ways, but yet people's desire to escape leads them to the point of, well, I'll just make everything a joke. I would rather joke about, and I get the pain and why. Humanity's been through so much, and generation to generation to generation, and people get tired of not being able to party and just let loose and keep it fun. I get it. That is honestly the real purpose of, and leaving your legacy even. You only want to get the fruits of it so you can enjoy, or you should want to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And your labor should be something you love, as they say, do a job you love, you never work a day in your life. I get it all, people. I'm just saying, a lot of young folk don't have any of the logic of what I just said. They're not coming from a generation that says, yeah, you can wild out on the weekend, but make sure you got your game face on for Monday. Get back to your duties, do your job, do your whatever, handle business, be respectful. Treat people like they want to be treated. What does that even mean anymore to this generation? Shit, if they all treat each other like shit, then hell, I don't want you treating me like, no, don't treat me like you treat yourself. Nope, don't do none of that. Don't do none of that. So we're in an interesting situation, and I see it. And so I just have to speak on things as they come to me, hoping it makes a mark for those who will hear me out. And if you made it this far, you're sure enough a real one. Make sure you're already subscribed. Hit the comments, please be respectful, because I know this is going to attract some trolls trying to be funny, but please don't play yourself. The whole point here, show me you got another side to your brain, hopefully, where you can have an intelligent conversation, be respectful, and voice your opinion. And I'm more like Blade and Wolverine without being offensive, because otherwise it won't ever see the light of day.